during the fight week, even with the trash talk, so that
I
happens.
mean,
I'll tell you
yeah.
guys, that's when during fight week is when we're at our weakest point. Right before we're making weight, and you're hearing all this trash talk, and you got to deal with all the demons, you got to deal with the negativity, the self-doubt, if training camp didn't go well, you add on top of that. So he was dealing with all of this, trying to process all of this. He didn't know how.
Welcome into boxing scene's top stories on ProBox TV. Download the ProBox TV app. Never fall behind in your boxing news. Well, you don't age gracefully in boxing. As a great man once said, there's no old timers league. Well, Regis Prograis at the ripe old age of 35, getting ready for a showdown with Jack Catterall at his weight class. You do not age gracefully. And help me break it down, Jimmy Smith alongside the champs, Chris Algieri, Paulie Malignaggi, and ESPN boxing analyst Tim Bradley. Regis Prograis sitting down with Lance Pugmire of Boxing Scene to discuss this fight and his future. Here it is.
I think he is a better style. But at the same time, listen, with the Haney fight, it was just a mind thing for me, honestly. I mean, I can't go into so much detail, but yeah, I had a lot of distractions going on inside the camp. I had a long camp that I should never had. I changed train. I mean, basically everything mentally that could have went bad, probably went bad. That's why. And then of course, it was a big mental warfare thing, when Bill and we did all the talking. That's something I kind of started enjoying. Instead of thinking about the fight, I kind of enjoyed, all right, let's go talk shit to Bill. Let's go do this. My coach Evans was doing the same thing. We just got into that. They kind of got into our heads about like talking and stuff like that. And that's what they did. And that's what happened. So I don't think it was a styles thing. I think it was just, I mean, he has a good style also, but at the same time, and I think Jack Catterall's style was made for me, but at the same time, I think that, mentally I was already beaten.
One thing you say in fighting all the time, you can't teach mentality, you can't teach heart. Chris, I can fix your jab, I can fix your right hand. The mental side, got to do that on your own. What's your thought about Prograis and his thoughts about the Devin Haney fight?
Well, I mean, listen, we gotta think about some context here.
Yeah.
It's fight week. It's fight week for him. Going into a fight at 35 years of age, coming off a year layoff and taking a bad loss in his last fight, what else is he going to say? Of course he's going to say these kinds of things. You're not going to sit there and be like, he was just better than me. I just didn't have, I overtrained. Think everything went bad. Listen, that's part of this game, man. Every one of these other guys in this panel with me today have stories similar to that where camps were just all bad. But, fight night comes and you fight. This is what we do. We're prize fighters. Or you pull out. If the camp was that bad, you always have that option to pull out. But when we fight the fights, sometimes you're on your A game, sometimes you're not. But at the end of the day, you got to go out there and win. So I think a lot of this is just, gamesmanship for fight week. He's trying to stay relevant in this weight class, which, listen, it's hard to do at 35 years of age. Again, coming off a loss, going into a fight like this against a guy who's not a huge profile either. You're getting yourself out there in a way that looks to be positive. He needs to get this win and move on with his career. Because listen, it doesn't get easier. It doesn't get easier. You talked about father time. I remember my last fight was by my 30. I was just shy of my 38th birthday. I had a couple big fights after being 35. But everything changes. Training camps have to change, and overtraining is a real thing. Because if you don't pull back, if you train the way you did when you were 27, 28, your body can't handle the same output when you're in your mid to late 30s. And that just comes with age and being smarter and wiser and having the team around you. But again, in terms of what he's saying, yeah, this is what he's supposed to say. It's fight week.
Now, Paulie, when you look at what he said about the style matchup, Jack Catterall, stylistically an easy fight for him that, Devin Haney said it's just my kryptonite stylistically. What's your thought on that comparison? Does he line up better with Catterall?
I don't know, man. Catterall's pretty tricky, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Catterall's a pretty tricky guy himself. And he can sort of make you look bad. I think Catterall specializes more in making you look bad than anything else. You know what I mean? He's obviously a very good fighter, but the danger is there that you're facing another sort of a cutie kind of style in Catterall. He's crafty. He can make you look ridiculous at times, and I think. Yeah, I don't know. I think in that way he's underestimating Catterall's ability. Because I don't know that you can really look at Catterall and say he's not crafty or he's not he's not a risk of making you look bad. Some guys beat you up, and obviously losing a fight you get beat up, but in some ways it's more so looking bad than anything else. And I think Catterall is the kind of guy, when he beats you, he makes you look bad. He makes you look a little bit inept, So I think, Prograis has to be careful there. As far as him talking about the trash talk and all that stuff with Bill Haney and all that stuff, I don't know. I mean, I guess it works different for everybody. Maybe that wasn't the kind of thing he should have done. Personally, I needed trash talk. If I didn't get trash talk, I felt like I wasn't getting into a fight. And the fights where there was no trash talk, it really was more difficult for me to get motivated to fight. I don't know. Either Prograis lying, or maybe he's the opposite, where he doesn't want to deal with trash talk. He'd rather just have a respectful camp and respectful press conferences and go into a fight where none of that stuff is going on. But personally, I think I'm more apt to agree with the champ Chris. This is fight week, and he's gonna just pull it off the top of his head of why that one went bad and why this one's gonna go so good. I feel like we've all done it in that way. I feel like when I fought Ricky Hatton, I had a horrible training camp, but everybody was focused on so many other things. On fight week.
Champ, how do you feel? It's fight week. How do you feel? How did camp go?
You're
best I've ever had.
Great, awesome.
Yeah,
I can't wait.
You're going to convince everybody because you want to convince everybody, but you also want to convince yourself, and you also don't want to give your opponent a mental edge by saying, I'm not ready for this fight. So yeah, you do all those things. And you kind of get good at it. I think Prograis, is doing a lot of convincing.
You don't think the fight was too big for him? You don't think the fight? I think the fight was kind of too big for him. I mean, Regis Prograis, if you know the history of Prograis, he started boxing really late. He knows he's fighting against a superior boxer in Devin Haney. All right. And so, you don't think that kind of spooked him a little bit during the fight week, even with the trash talk? So that happens. I'll tell you guys, that's when during fight week is when we're at our weakest point. Right before we're making weight and you're hearing all this trash talk and you got to deal with all the demons. You got to deal with the negativity, the self-doubt, if training camp didn't go well, you add on top of that. So he was dealing with all of this, trying to process all of this. He didn't know how. This was the one of the biggest fights of his career. I thought that Taylor was the biggest fight of his career. Obviously not. It was this Haney fight. So I think that affected his performance also. And I think that night Haney was just on. It didn't matter what he did. It didn't matter if he overtrained, undertrained, trained perfectly. Haney was just on. He had his number that night. But as far as this fight goes with Catterall goes, this is kryptonite. He's facing his kryptonite. I think the last couple of fights that he's had, especially the Haney fight, who's a superior boxer with good legs, can move. Catterall has great legs. He's great technically as well, man, just like Paulie alluded to.
Southpaw.
He's extremely tricky. And he's a southpaw at that. So
Prograis is actually better with southpaws, though. If you look at his record, all of his big wins are against southpaws. He has a knack for beating southpaws. The orthodox guys.
Who you talking about? Regis?
Yeah.
Or Catterall?
No, Regis. Regis has a knack for southpaw. If you look at all his best wins.
Yeah, when you look at his record, but he's never faced it. This type of southpaw.
Catterall's a tough.
Catterall is not only technically good, but he's also tactically good. He knows when to get close. He knows when to work. He knows when to tie up. He knows when to get
you when he needs to. He's physical.
Yeah. He's extremely tricky, man. And I feel that he's facing this kryptonite. And he knows how to land that backhand against a freaking southpaw himself. So
it's over there, right? It's over on that side?
I believe it is. But I would say this, that
he
beat Taylor. Taylor's a southpaw. Taylor's considered one of the best southpaws in his weight class. But if Prograis doesn't get past this, I don't know. I think mentally he may check out of boxing. This is a big fight for him. All the marbles are here for him. He has to win this fight again because of this. He don't win this fight, I'm telling you right now, it's a possibility he may hang up the gloves.
That is a lot of pressure. Tim Bradley called it right. That would be 2 in a row, the year off, the time off, the age, 35 years old in a very tough division. So all the pressure on Regis Prograis. But whether he wins or loses, it will make boxing news, and we will deal with it here on ProBox TV. We'll see you next time.
Wednesday Night Fights. In partnership with DeBella Entertainment, it's Broadway Boxing, Heroes on the Hudson 2. With proceeds benefiting veterans of the U.S. Armed Forces. October 23rd. Don't miss Mio Yoshida as she defends her IBF Bantamweight World title in a rematch against Sharetta Metcalf. Live from the theater at Madison Square Garden. Wednesday Night Fights.
For more ProBox TV, scan the QR code on the screen or go to the App Store and Google Play. ProBox TV, your boxing channel.